Glen Barrows International Pest Control provides a comprehensive approach for a pest-free environment for both residential and commercial clients. Our services include lawn spraying and fungus control services to ensure the safety of your family and pets, commercial pest and rodent control, pre-construction soil treatment, subterranean termite control, and tent fumigation. Call Glen Barrows International Pest Control at 465-2935 or 469-5294. Glen Barrows International Pest Control, setting new standards in pest control.
With news from across the Federation, spanning the region and covering the globe, this is the Kiss FM SKN News Now Morning Edition, your one true source for news. And now your presenter.
Good morning. Today is Tuesday, 7th February 2017. I'm Leslie Joseph. This is the SKN News Now Morning Edition, brought to you with the kind compliments of Glen Barrows Pest Control and Guest House. These are the top stories this hour. Nationally, Port Zante businesses remain the target of criminals. Regionally, Grenadian Prime Minister Keith Mitchell says there is no bad blood between him and his former Foreign Affairs Minister. Internationally, Israel's West Bank settlement legislation has garnered strong disapproval from the European Union, Arab League, and Turkey. And in sport, Gabon receives a glowing scorecard for hosting the Africa Cup of Nations. Now for a look at the stories in detail. Escalating criminal activity continues to plague the Federation. Last Friday evening, a spate of robberies occurred on Port Zante. SKN News Now understands that a number of stores were burgled, including the restaurant Taiwan Tasty. We were able to speak with the owner of Taiwan Tasty, who provided a description of what happened and a list of the purloined property.
It's happened around in the middle of the night, because I left at 8:30 in the night, and it was okay. And I don't know what happened during this time until next morning. One of the police, he called me that I should be in my store immediately because somebody just broke into. So when I go into and check it, and something is gone, like my cash, laptop, iPad, and my TV, like some big materials. They took all my electronic stuff. For the cash, is about 1,000 US, and it's not including that, like the laptop and the TV. So I think it's called like 3,000.
There has not been to date any announcement from the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force regarding these robberies. St. Kitts and Nevis has recorded its steepest decline in goods exported to the United States in the first 11 months of 2016 in comparison to the same period for the last 6 years. According to the foreign trade statistics issued by the U.S. Census Bureau, goods and services exported to the U.S. between January and November 2016 were valued at U.S. $45.7 million, or EC 123.3 million, compared to U.S. $53 million, or EC 143.1 million in 2015, and U.S. $51.9 million, or EC 140.1 million in 2014 for the same 11-month period. In 2013, goods and services exported to the United States for the 11-month period were valued at U.S. $49.1 million. In 2012, U.S. $52.3 million. In 2011, U.S. $49.9 million. In 2010, U.S. $46.2 million. and in 2009, US $45 million. For the same 11-month period in 2016, Antigua and Barbuda exported US $14.8 million, Barbados US $46.7 million, Dominica US $2.5 million, and Anguilla US $3.9 million, the British Virgin Islands US $10 million, Grenada US $11.9 million, Saint Martin US $77.5 million, St. Vincent US $2.1 million, and St. Lucia US $13.1 million. St. Kitts and Nevis companies that export products to the United States are Lutron Liamiga, Haro Servo Limited, Cajola Cristata, CSR DDL, Jaro Electronics, and Carabel Batik, whose products are also purchased by cruise passengers and stayover visitors. Regionally, in Grenada, political leader of the new National Party, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell, says the recent resignation of one of his government ministers is not an indication of bad blood between them. Weeks ago, Alexandra Otway-Noel hung up her ministerial hat as she quoted, to pursue private sector advancement opportunities.
One of the reasons attributed to Otway-Noel's exit from government service was speculations of an unhealthy relationship between herself and the party's political leader. In a recent interview with the former government minister and MP for the South, she maintained that herself and other party members enjoy excellent relationship. In his first public statement since the resignation, the Prime Minister says no bad blood exists between the two.
It's well known that Alex and I have a very good personal relationship. There's never been an issue. I think Alex genuinely likes me as a person. It has been so long before she got into politics. And I think she has the greatest respect for me. And I also have the greatest respect. And I'm very fond of her personally. And I think that is the issue. There's no personal issue between myself and Alexandra Otway.
The South MP also indicated that she's unsure as to whether or not the party's executive will again select her for the constituency. The political leader has this response.
None of us should put ourselves down and say that I will be a candidate. All of us are possible candidates that won the last time. But the party has a responsibility to ensure that it puts itself in the most optimal position to win a general elections. And this is what this party will be doing. We won't make the mistake that we made in 1999, believing that everybody that runs must run again.
As for a date for general election, Dr. Mitchell indicated that it would take some time to decide.
There are speculations, but that's all there are right now. The time will come when we'll make decisions, and it would be quite a bit months and time before a general elections. In other words, we won't be talking new candidates at any given time just a few months before general elections. That won't happen.
The party will hold its convention on March 26th.
Out of 119 nations, St. Lucia has slipped 8 places from 78 to 86 on the World Bank Doing Business Index for 2017. Regionally, St. Lucia is second best to Jamaica in the English-speaking Caribbean for conducting business.
Every year, the World Bank publishes the Doing Business Report, indexing 190 global economies deemed most conducive for starting and operating a business. World Bank analysts scrutinize 10 key factors: starting a business, dealing with construction permits, getting electricity, registering property, getting credit, protecting minority investors, paying taxes, trading across borders, enforcing contracts, and resolving insolvency. In 2016, St. Lucia, according to the World Bank Ease of Doing Business report, ranked at 78 globally. St. Lucia's ranking would slide some 8 places to 86 over the next fiscal year in 2017. Setting up shop in 2017, the World Bank says, has gotten slightly more stringent in St. Lucia. Administrative costs establishing a standardized company totals $4,425 in St. Lucia. Jamaica ranks at number 1, ahead of St. Lucia in doing business in the English-speaking Caribbean. The average associated costs of starting a business is Jamaica $29,000 or EC $608. Regionally, the World Bank lists Dominica as second behind St. Lucia for its setting up procedures that costs about $2,900 EC dollars. Powering your business, the World Bank says, has become more difficult in St. Lucia, for newly constructed establishments in particular. Getting the lights turned on in a newly built warehouse or hotel can cost you north of $39,000 EC dollars. A notable improvement: policy reforms for trading across borders have improved over 2016. However, a lack of a public credit bureau or private registry continues to hamper St. Lucia's doing business standings. The World Bank also cites inefficient collateral and bankruptcy laws to protect the rights of borrowers and lenders, making it harder for cash-strapped entrepreneurs. In summary, St. Lucia has the second best regulatory environment in the English-speaking Caribbean for doing business.
On the international scene, the Israeli parliament's legislation on West Bank settlements has drawn strong criticism from the Arab League and Turkey, while the European Union has shown its disapproval by postponing a summit with Israel. A law has been passed legalizing nearly 4,000 settler homes built on Palestinian land in the West Bank. Stephanie Freed has more.
There was going to be a summit between Israel and EU leaders later this month. Well, foreign ministers with the EU have decided to postpone that summit based on the passing of this bill because the EU, the UN, for years, for decades as well, they've been talking about and condemning settlement building. So this, as far as the EU is concerned, is not in good faith when it comes to trying to build peace with the Palestinians. So, yes, you've got the symbolism and you have the movements now that it has to go through the High Court, where it's expected to be shot down by the High Court. But you've also got the very real, tangible, this summit that was meant to thaw relations with Israel and the EU being put off.
Trade agreements and jobs were two big issues on the minds of farmers and manufacturing workers during the 2016 presidential campaign. 2 weeks into President Donald Trump's term has provided some insight into his plans to fulfill campaign promises that appealed to those voters who helped him win the White House.
American farmers like Wendell Shawman backed the Trans-Pacific Partnership trade agreement during the 2016 presidential campaign.
When trade works, the world wins.
But one of President Trump's first moves after taking office was to withdraw the U.S. from the TPP, making good on a campaign promise.
Anytime you back out on a trade deal, it's not a precedent I like to see set.
The result? A loss of new markets and price increases for U.S. farm products like corn and soybeans.
We would have gained tremendous access to Japan's beef and pork markets through this agreement, and I think we were looking at between 10 and 35 cents a bushel on corn, the impact of TPP once it was signed and implemented.
While that means a direct hit on Wendell Shawman's pocketbook, he is not disappointed.
You're a farmer, you have a PhD, you're well-traveled, you understand how trade agreements and international trade works, and you voted for Trump.
It was... Yes.
Shawman says his support for Trump went beyond profits.
We're conservative people. We think government's too big. We've got too many regulations. We can only see more of them coming from Hillary. We could see a more liberal Supreme Court, which is already giving us trouble. A lot of rules and regulations that we fight end up going to the Supreme Court.
Not far from Shawman's farm is the former site of the Maytag appliance factory. George Carney worked there for more than 2 decades until the factory moved to Mexico and his job disappeared. Carney blames the North American Free Trade Agreement, also known as NAFTA. He struggled to find steady work since and was strongly opposed to the TPP.
Just the bad experience of the NAFTA left a bad taste in my mouth, so I was against it just because of being a trade agreement.
But Trump's opposition to TPP was not enough to gain Carney's vote in November.
He comes off like a babbling buffoon, but I think he's doing his job right. I like what he's doing.
which is why Carney, who has never voted for a Republican for president before, is looking ahead to the next election.
I could see myself vote for Trump next time.
Although Wendell Shawman is on the opposite side of Trump regarding TPP, he too says he could vote for Trump again, depending on how he handles any changes to the NAFTA agreement and how he continues to conduct himself while president.
Yeah, sometimes it's frustrating. Sometimes it's embarrassing. Sometimes it's, I literally said, why don't you just grow up? But he's the president. We're going to live with him for 4 years. We'll see where this ride goes.
And now we take a look at sport. The Confederation of African Football has declared its satisfaction with the Gabon-hosted Africa Cup of Nations. More in this report.
The continent's football governing body has praised Gabon for security arrangements as well as the government's commitment to the tournament. CAF maintains the interest from fans has been unprecedented this year. Its verdict comes just a day after the CAF Executive Council handed Gabon the rights to host this year's Under-17 Africa Cup of Nations after withdrawing hosting rights from Madagascar.
With regard to the level of football that we have seen, there are no small teams anymore. Guinea-Bissau was taking part for the first time and performed remarkably. And then, of course, the historic final between Egypt and Cameroon. So generally, we are happy.
And that item brings us to the end of the Kiss FM SKN News Now Morning Edition, brought to you with the kind compliments of Glen Barrows Pest Control and Guest House. Join us again at 5:45 for our comprehensive evening news package. I am Leslie Joseph.